good morning, good evening, my people, my brothers, and my sisters here in Canada, in the US, in Europe, London, Nigeria, and Africa. Welcome to another episode of Mental Health Mandates, a place where we have conversations about mental health for men because it's a mandate from God that we as men, as leaders, have to take care of our minds, our mental health. And it's an opportunity to have a date with a man, a date where we have conversations, heart to heart conversations with men. We rarely do these things. And today I have the pleasure of doing this with a friend of mine, a brother and a friend, uh, where we're going to dissect into how Western migration has affected man's mental health. So, without delay, I'll bring on stage and to join me, my dear friend, Mr. Peter Afolabi. Peter, how you doing? Can you adjust your camera a little bit? We see a lot of the top so that we can see you. Aha, yes,
Better now?
yeah, it's better now. How you doing, my brother?
Man, I'm good. Nice to see
Welcome.
you, man.
It's a pleasure to have you, first of all, in this episode of Mental Health Mandate, right? Uh, Today, we're just going to have a conversation and look into things like we have conversations behind the screens, right? About the challenges that we go through. Because guess what? Not only us, not just us that goes through these things. There are other people out there that go through the same things, but they want to know, they want to hear someone else say it, then it resonates with them, so that they will know that they're not alone, right? So it's not so difficult. We all will get through this thing when we hold our hands together. So welcome to this episode of Mental Health Mandate. I'd like you, just before we get into the conversation, to just introduce yourself so that people in London, in Nigeria, in Africa, in North America will have an idea of who they're listening to, your background, and what you do now. You understand? Just a little bit about you. Let them know who Peter Afolabi is.
All right, thank you very much, my very good friend and a brother, Mawasa Aswam. All right, so how do I start and where do I start from?
You can
Okay,
start from Nigeria, a little bit from Nigeria, just a little bit.
okay.
Hmm.
All right, so first, I am a human being,
Right.
yes, and
That's key.
fortunately for me, I was born in Africa, precisely in Nigeria, and I'm so proud of that heritage. And as life it have it, we grew up in Africa, in Nigeria, the usual struggle. But eventually, as a child growing up, we all had that aspiration that one day we want to be somewhere, those places we see on TV growing up. We want to be there too, those Hollywood lifestyle. And I think that's inspired one of those journey that we decided to, relocate to the Western world. Bet is all that glitters gold. I think that might be part of the conversation going forward. So I don't know what else to say about myself, but I believe most of these things will come up during this conversation.
All right. Thank you very much, Peter. I will just add this to it that it's good people know that you're an author as well as a financial advisor. You know, being an author, being able to express your feelings is one powerful way, right, to release mental health. So it's good they know that you're an author as well, and you're a financial advisor. You are into finance. Now, talking about when you talked about your background, you talked about having that mentality of we want to be somewhere else, right? We want to be somewhere else, which is everybody wants to travel abroad, right? Can you talk a little bit about that? What for you? What created that mindset for you? Because mine is different. What created that mindset for you that made you think, I want to be overseas, travel overseas, right? Tell us what created that mindset for you. And when you got here, what was the shock Was it what you expected, or was there cultural shock? Take us just on that journey.
All right, thanks. Now the questions are rolling in, so let me now play it back to my journey as a child. You see, growing up in Nigeria, from and with my humble beginning, and I'll say life wasn't so. We weren't born with a silver spoon, so we had to go through the struggles of childhood. So, and as someone who was privileged to witness a lot of transitions from my parents, I saw how my dad was trying to progress in his career, and suddenly there was this retrenchment around 1981, and he lost his job. And I saw how my both parents were able to, work together, do a business together, which is just, see you see your dad falling back to support your mom to do a business, and that
Mm,
became a family livelihood. And I grew up joining them in that family business. But while doing all that, I've always had the mindset that I don't want to have this experience that my dad had. So I wanted to go for the career that will give me the highest income. And that's inspired my journey into engineering. So, as most engineers wanted or wished for, I wanted to work in the oil company so I can make a lot of money. But finishing school with very good grades, realized to get a job in an economy where the system stopped producing companies that will employ you, it became a big struggle. So interview here and there, application here and there, traveling here there for different oil companies, even top bank corporations. Eventually, at some point, I realized we just need to do something else. And that's how it started forming in my mind that I need to develop some skill sets that I can use wherever I am. And that's how I was able to start seeing those skill sets outside that space. And that was something that inspired that journey to eventually travel outside the shores, thinking the grass would be greener at the other side. Let's let it flow so I don't just bore you
okay.
up with so
So,
much.
I like to just speak a little bit. This is, it's always good to understand the background before you get into what the challenges is with um, people's mental health, especially men's mental health. And I want to welcome anyone that's just joined us and anyone that's watching us from any part of the world right now. As you're watching, please just endeavor to share this with any man that you know needs to hear this. We all are on this journey together. We want a situation where you're here, even if you can't come on here live, you can just chat with us. If there's anything that you're struggling with, just give us a question. We address those questions right here. So this program is for men and it's for a woman to understand the man because it's very essential that women understand men. So if you're a woman and you want to understand the man, stay tuned. If you have a friend, a woman that's your friend, and you want her to understand a man or her man, send her this stream. Send her this live stream. So you were saying something, Peter, that you studied engineering, right? And at some point, you felt getting the job wasn't easy, right? You felt you needed to do something outside the box, right? Do something, develop yourself in a different way, just in case you need it, right? Now, do you think, and you said that's what led to you wanting to travel abroad? Do you think if you didn't think of that option outside of the box, outside of your confines of engineering that you studied and getting a good job and making good money, do you think you would have traveled?
Well, I the question is, I would say maybe yes, maybe no. Why would I say that? I know a lot of people who we embarked on that journey together, went through that engineering course. Most of them came out as high flyers too. And during the course of time, I've seen many of them have also relocated. So I wouldn't say because it's not because they didn't get a good job. Like initially when I started, we all have that aspiration. We want to live in a space where there's more cohesion, where there's more peace, calm, and different reasons for different people to migrate. But for me, I haven't tried and see a lot of shortcomings in getting into that career path. Maybe I was driven by personal interest. I want to make the bucks. But eventually, I decided at some point that I need to develop myself. And that's why I did a 360 degree. I switched from engineering to a not so popular field, which is sales. And I went into one of the toughest industry, and that's the insurance. And then for me, then it was more about personal development, no longer chasing the bags. And that's when I listened to one of my mentors, and I'll say his name here is Robert Kiyosaki, and his story resonated with me. How he traveled under the U.S. Marine to fight the Vietnam War. He was a pilot flying. He got back after the war, and he had a big opportunity to get a career in the aviation industry as a pilot, and the pay was so attractive at the time. But what he did instead was he followed the advice of his rich dad, his mentor, and he went into sales in Xerox, and he went to start selling, struggling to defeat himself, to conquer himself. And it was after he has succeeded in conquering himself that he went into business world, and because he has learned some skills that are going to be with him forever. Today, I'm talking about Robert Kiyosaki, a multi-billionaire in US dollars, and one of the global leaders in industries. So I followed that path in my own little way, and I went to sales lens. Then I started doing little business here and there, investments, trying stocks, trying forex trades, authoring books, and you just keep going and going. You keep acquiring knowledge as you go until we decided to, maybe it was time to go for further studies. And that's how I traveled for my MBA. So that's how the journey has been.
So you did forex as well. Did you get your hand burnt?
My brother, you can say that again and again.
I lost my 5,000 pounds to forex in Nigeria.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. So now let's shift gears a little bit, and I think we'll come back to what moving from one industry, one study, engineering, to other aspects, sales, and how it has developed you. What it has done for you, as a whole. Because sometimes, some of those people that went to school together, they studied certain things. They were high flyers in that thing, and they've been stuck in that thing since. Right? They've been stuck in that field. Maybe they became a regional banker and they're very good. They became, you understand, an MD in the bank. They're just there, right? They're doing very well. They have lots of money, but there's something missing. Somehow there's just something missing. They never want to go outside there because that's their comfort zone. That's something they know very well. If they step outside, they are completely lost. They run back into that box. But anyway, that's not what I want to talk about now. So let's now move. Now, let's shift gears into you now decide to travel, right? You traveled. Now, what was your experience of traveling to the Western world? And how do you think, I don't know if it affected you, right? But how do you think it affects men in general, mentally, when they come over here? So first of all, just through your experience, what was the first cultural shock? Was it cultural shock? Or did you just come here and say, oh, wow, wonderful. This place is made of gold. They have money falling from the trees. Start plucking the money from the trees. Give us a story of your journey coming abroad.
All right. So personally for me, before I decided to come to the Western world, I've been to the Eastern world to study. And I've seeing life from different perspectives. So my experience in the Eastern world was a bit stability.
Well, so when you say Eastern world, what part of the East?
Yeah, like
So people can know.
Southeast Asia and
Okay.
China, those areas. So
Okay.
yeah, so I've been to Singapore, Malaysia, China, those areas, and I've seen how their system is organized, the structuring of their system. I liked it. It was kind of calm. They have always had this Hollywood mindset that, man, if it's not the West, it cannot be like the West. So even while I was there and I had a chance of settling there, that I was thinking of the West. That's where my mindset was. So eventually I was able to walk my way around and I find myself in the West. But like the question you ask, the moment I stepped into the Western world, precisely the moment I entered Canada, it was like there was a cloud that I saw. Like there's this thing between, you just know that you feel different. Like this is my expectations and what I'm seeing is kind of different. I was expecting so much because I've been to the US. I've seen how the US vibe is, how the economy is flowing. And I was having the same expectations that, oh, I'm just going to Canada. I'm just going to do this. I'll just do this. But at the moment I was still in the cab going home on my first day, and I knew and I felt it that, man, there's something about this place. It's kind of different. The energy was just different. And that's how it was. So it's part of the cultural shock that we just mentioned. So now getting in, trying to settle in, you start seeing different road blocks that the system has automatically put in place. Like you're trying to get a house and you're new in the country. And they say, hey, we can't give you a house. We don't know you. You don't have credit score. You don't have, you need to get guarantors that we know in the country. You want to get a job. You don't have, you have a good degree. But now they can't give you a job because you don't have the Canadian experience. And how are you going to get the Canadian experience if you don't get a job to get that experience in Canada? So there are different, obstacles that they put on the way, systemic, that has to affect your mental health, especially if you're someone who's used to being the decision maker back home. You come to a different space and then you realize most of those authority, those power that you have, you just let the system takes it. In fact, the system sucks it out and subjugates you. And that's a big cultural shock to you, especially if you are a man who was doing well before you came to the Western world.
Okay, so I want to go in there a little bit. I want to stay in there a little bit. So you talked about most of the things that you were doing that the system is going to take away from you. Can you break that down a little bit? What specifically are the things that um, most people knew were doing back home that you came here that you couldn't do anymore, that started affecting you mentally? Because most times that's the one thing that affects men so much. They don't even realize it because what they used to be, what they could do back home, all of a sudden it's been taken away from them. Rights, responsibility. They just feel like, wow, I'm not a man anymore. And some of them cannot recover from it. Right. So can you take us in there? It's okay. Don't worry about the children. I can hear their voice, but it's okay. You understand? It's
All
okay.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll frame it by using these words, the three F. This three F: friendship, family, and freedom. They're very fundamental to an African man when you're living in Africa. So I'll bring it now to the Nigerian context. So as a Nigerian, friendship is more like we live in a community. You have friends all over the place. You come out of your house. People calls you to come hang out. You just there's a way, despite the fact that the economy or the system politically is frustrating, but you have a way of coping with stress because you have a relationship with your friends that you can always, hang out with, have a conversation because most people are not in a hurry. They are relaxed. They are at home. But in the Western world, hmm, it's a different ball game. Then, secondly, your family. As a man, now we're having this conversation about men and mental health, right?
Yeah.
As a man back home, you are perceived as the head of the family. You're the breadwinner, even whether your wife works or not. You are still the authority. In fact, you're the one they go to for every decision. And you're used to being the one that no matter what, you have to go out. Like in the olden days,
Fend
said
for the family. Yeah.
family goes out, defend and protects the family, the head of the family, and provides for the family. So that puts you at a place of headship. And you see that, okay, you have to provide and protect. And that's, for us that are Christians, that's part of our Christian role. Like we commune with God, God commune with Adam, you know. But in the Western world, you realize that you won't be able to do that. I'll give a quick story here. There's a friend who I've known from back home, and we lost contact for a while. And sometimes he realized that he discovered me on social media and just sent me a message that, oh, wow, I've been looking for you. I just saw your post and I realized you're in so place. And I'm coming to so place this time. I said, oh, wow, that's interesting. So we talked and eventually we scheduled and I went to pick him up at the airport. So upon arrival, he had so much expectations. He sold his business. He was doing well. He sold his business back home. He relocated his wife and two kids to come give them the good life abroad. So now he relocated. So, well, we're in the car and he was telling me how Nigeria was not working, how he made that decision, he was, afraid of safety and all that. But he wants to give the good life to his family. And that was quite laudable. But upon arrival, he was able to, we were able to assist him and he got a place to stay and all that. And because he came in with money. But now, to get a job, he realized he couldn't get a job with his qualification back home. Now, he was meant to go back to school in order to get the Canadian schooling experience and be able to get the apprenticeship experience after school that will constitute his work experience before he can now get a job. That period was a tough time for him because while he was doing that, he realized all the money he came with, he had spent them paying for rent, putting food on the table for his family, his kids, and all that. Now he has to take up factory work at night and study just to be able to get a little box here and there to augment. So while he was doing all this, he realized the reason that made him come, which is to give his family the best time, he was deviating from that reason. Because now he spend more time in the factory or go to school to study. Those kids that he brought here, he no longer have time to spend with them. The kids have to spend most of the time at school. And you don't know who's schooling your kids and what they are schooling into your kids. So now, at some point, started having issues with his spouse. Because now the spouse no longer gets those kind of privilege of the husband just provides while she just relax and watch telemondo at home, like she used to do back home.
Telemondo. See what you want to call. All right, go
Now,
ahead.
the spouse also have to do certain work to augment. And now she becomes stressed. She's not used to that kind of life. And now it started cracking, creating a crack in the family. And the worst part was when the guy is going to work, the wife will be at home. And when the guy is coming back, that's when the wife goes. So now they're not doing hide and seek. And the kids spend most of the time out. So at some point, the guy realized, man, it's now affecting him. Now, he no longer have friends that used to be where he used to, unwind with and share their concerns. Because back home, you just hang out, maybe men's corner, beer parlor, football, Chelsea, Arsenal, those kind of things that makes people just unwind. He no longer have this kind of access. So all he does is walk, read. At some point, the guy screamed that it was really, really frustrating for him. That even the money that he's working for is not even enough. He has to augment with credit card, getting himself into more debt just to take care of those kids, whom most likely will grow up in a system where they are trained to think like the system, and they won't even recognize all the sacrifices that you have made for them. So you see, this is very concerning, and it's a big impact on men's mental health. And I believe most men in the Western world, they can relate with someone that shares a similar experience.
That's a very powerful story. We could stay here all day and really analyze that story. That's a very powerful story because guess what? Those two things are very important to men. And yeah, you haven't touched one part. There's the freedom. There's 3 Fs, right? There's the freedom part of it. I think I don't mind extending it. We'll touch on that freedom before we go. When you lose that community of friendship, right, that keeps you going no matter what's happening at home, right? You don't have that anymore. And the family that you decide to bring over here, the system is all, like literally snatching them away from you because it seems like what they've created in the structure of the system is to isolate you in such a way, engage you in such a way, and pulls you away from the family. I don't know. That's what a lot of people experience. And that's what I can tell from the story that you're telling me now. He just got pulled away from his family, right? No time to spend with the children, no time to spend with the spouse. He's being drained by work for money that's not enough for them, that the wife has to think of what she was not thinking of before. Like, what use is this man now? He's useless because that's what you've been doing. That's what she's always been used to, That's very powerful. So please, I'd like us to touch on, I don't want us to miss out on it. I'd like us to touch on that freedom part of it. You talked about 3 Fs. The first two was the friendship, the family, which is very powerful. Now, can you touch on the freedom?
Okay, so thank you. So the 3 Fs are very key to a man's mental stability. Friendship, family, and freedom to be able to do what you want to do. And I can tell one of the reasons most people actually migrated to Western world, especially US and Canada, is to eventually lay their hands on that money that would enable them or give them the freedom to be able to go to any part of the world when and how or whichever way that they want to, without having to go through all those rigorous process of having to apply and prove yourself that you can go to their country and come back. But with a Western Bali or passports, you are able to do that because you recognize that you are a global citizen. But now, let's bring it home for most people that who has spent so many years in this Western world and they've been able to get that Bali for themselves. How many of those people do you really know are able to take that Bali, dust it off their akpoti and be able to travel around the world?
It's a trap. It's a trap.
Okay.
It's very funny. I didn't even think of it that way. So when you just started talking about it, I'm like, okay, I get it now. This is where you've been deceived that you get the freedom, you get the passport, you can travel anywhere. By the time you get the passport, you're looking at it like, how? You can't even travel. There's no time. You don't have enough money. You understand? You can't even travel. Yeah. I'll let you carry on. Maybe you have some more things to talk about it, but you just landed. It hit me real hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So most people that are watching this might be wondering, how will you have a Pali and you not travel? And if you know the kind of bills that gets to your mail every week, let's say you're making this amount of money, but your bills is this amount high. So you need to find some ways to balance the gap
The
between
difference.
what you're earning and what your bill is. And that's why most people get into debt.
Yep.
They need a car. They need to get a financing loan to get that car. Debt. They need, before their payday comes, they need to buy food for their family. So they need credit card to do groceries while waiting that when they get paid, they're able to meet up. And then each of these debts, they are like, they keep accumulating, they keep piling up. They snowball, they snowball. And at some point, it's like this. What you need to sustain and your debts with what you're earning. So now, how are you going to travel?
He wants to get in. Let him come in if he wants to get in.
Okay.
He
So
will
now,
grow someday. He will grow someday and see himself here in the. Yeah, this was that me? He's not your assistant.
yeah, I have a lot of assistants. All right. So now you realize you're stuck because you can't afford to travel and not pay bills because the bills are going to keep coming, whether or not you are home, working, or not working, or away. So it takes you to become financially literate under the right mental framework to be able to structure yourself properly in this kind of environment that you be able to work towards your long-term freedom, that you can now be able to, in spite of what the system has in place, be able to still live the good life that the Western world has and be able to explore your 3 F's. Connect with your friends, your family, and even your faith, and also your finance, and still be able to express and enjoy your freedom to be anywhere you want to be. And you have to be intentional and think long term and look for the right people and the right system that will help you to structure a way to achieve that. Otherwise, if you didn't come with your plan or have a proper plan in place for your life in the Western world,
You get lost.
the system will give you its own templates, and that's not in your own best interest.
That's a very. Thank you very much, Peter. I like to always keep this within 30 minutes, but in the spirit of intentionality, I think it's very important. You've been able to identify so many challenges that people face, most especially men, when they come to the Western world, right? With those F's. Like I think I call it the trap of the 3 F's. Trap of the 3 F's. You understand? You identify that as a challenge over here. Now, in the spirit of being intentional, can you just tell anyone out there, like say someone in Nigeria, that it's coming over here, right? When you come over here and finally land here and you're faced with that trap of the 3 F's, how do you navigate and survive not to fall into that trap that most of us have fallen into, right? I, being one of it, have fallen into that trap of the 3 F's. How do you tell someone to navigate it so that they don't fall into that trap? Because a lot of people are still back, millions of people are still back in Africa that still intend to travel. As a matter of fact, there's some boarding the plane now. So in case they are listening to us, they can yield to the lessons they can take from this stream.
Okay, that's a very interesting question. So but let's see how we can simplify it. First, the biggest mistake most people make is they do not research properly before they embark on the journey. So most people just believe the grass is going to be greener at the other side of the walls. Eventually, when they get there, they're going to find out for themselves how green the grass actually is. Is it the natural grass or is it a synthetic grass? You're going to find out. That's how the system is meant to be. But I'll implore you, if you're yet to travel and you're thinking that this is going to be something you want to do soon, come up with a plan. Do research. Find out what's important. And in order for you, if you're already in the Western world and you're having to struggle with your mental health and trying to find that balance between your F's, whether it's the 3F or the 5F's, now you want to first live within your means. Find a way to live within your means. Then, if you can do that, the SS, start thinking long term. How do you buy your freedom? You have to start getting your money to work for you. If your money is not working for you, then you're the only one working. You're going to be stuck in this race. The gap is going to be a ceiling for you forever. And if you retire like this, man, I'm sorry. And secondly, you need a connection. We as Africans, we are communal by nature. And this system in the Western world is individualistic. So for you to be able to get back your F, your first F, your friendship, relationships, you need to find a way to belong to a community. And there are several communities out there that are helpful. Like we have business communities, networking communities, and church communities, religious communities. You want to be in a community where everyone is thinking forward thinking community. And myself and Iponsa will belong to one of such communities where we learn about financial education, we help people to structure finances, and we apply the knowledge to ourselves and think long term. And that's one of the roadmap towards buying your freedom eventually. So you can be anywhere you want to be and still be making those bags anywhere. So should I leave it at that for
Yes,
now?
I would just say because of time, let's leave it at that. But that was so powerful, the ending. I think we'll need to have another one to really dive deep into that because we're here to help each other. We're here to help those listening, not just for them to know what the problem is and remain in the problem, but to be able to have solutions to navigate these things. And I really like the fact that you said, number one, live within your means, right? Live within your means. So if you don't take anything from this streaming today, right, this mental health mandate, remember this: anywhere you go, especially the Western world, where you come, number one, live within your means. Number two, find a community, right? And number three, buy back your freedom. Buy back your freedom. That's find a way to make money work for you and not you working for money. We will go into, we'll have Peter come again. We'll go into details of that in a next episode. Maybe not the next one, the exact next one, or maybe next week. You never know, right? So that you can really get the tools you need to succeed in the Western world. Thank you all for staying with us. It's been a lovely time. I guess you're going back from your break now. If you're in North America, if you're in Africa, in England, in Europe, I guess you're driving back home now. Thank you for hanging with us. Do send this message, this stream to a man, a woman that needs to learn about the challenges that men face. We face so much challenges that the society has given us. But thank you, and I'm glad that my friend joined me today so that we can discuss about this. I hope to see you all next week. Bye for now.
Daddy.